when it comes about evil eyes, or we can say black magic or a curse, it is something we all have heard about it, and some are afraid about it, and some of you maybe who are watching us may have experienced something. For example, if we find something happening that is strange, we can't comprehend or can't explain, or even we can say conventional remedy or modern science cannot resolve. Usually we thought maybe some black magic, or we can say evil eyes, has been done on us, or we can say somebody has done a curse on us. In different parts of the world, different cultures, the world believe, of course, in that some say that just a glance or an envious thought is sufficient to affect a person, and it can be given like injuries, illnesses, and sometimes even death. And for this, there are different terms that people use, like we can say black magic, curse, spell, or we can say evil eye. And they use it as a synonym for a problem. And the Spiritual Science Research Foundation, through the research, what we have found is even those symptoms, like fight in families, different financial problems, or we can say physical ailments. We can say people getting bad dreams. Some people are getting nightmares all the time. Some people are facing different type of addictions, such as alcohol or cigarettes. Some people are experiencing depression through lifetime, insomnia. So even though actually that we can say this problem is gross in nature, but actually what happens, the root cause of the problem may be spiritual in nature. And that the University of Spirituality, through spiritual research, we have found that there is a difference. There is a difference between black magic, evil eyes, and curse at the level of, we can say, impact, or at the level of energy. So it is not the same for all of them. And so what we will see now separately about each cases of black magic, evil eyes, explain about it, so it is more clear to each one of you what is the difference. And what, of course, what you probably are waiting and want to know, what is the solution? And sometimes you may be surprised to see that the solution are rather simple. So when it comes to evil eye, so evil eyes is a term that is used to describe the process of being afflicted by spiritual impure vibration from another person. And in today's competition is very high, and we live in a materialistic world, and many people also have personality defect, such as we can say envy, jealousy, and vices also, or sexual thought, hatred. So how it works about what we say evil eye. So just to give an example, if a woman wear provocating dresses, so if a person from the opposite sex look at it, it will generate, depending on the person, generate some desirous thoughts, or even it can be also bad thoughts towards the person. And those negative thoughts, more in natures, will increase the negative vibration in that person. And this actually, the person will send those negative vibration to that lady. So that lady will be actually impacted by the negative thoughts and vibration from the opposite sex or the other person. So this is just an example, but it can be also just a person is envious about somebody else, whether it is in family member, whether it is at work. And just by looking at that other person, because the negative vibration today is very high, it is sufficient to increase, even if let's say just by few percent that negative vibration increase around us, it's just creating a accumulation, and as a result there is an increase of negative thoughts, or we can say because the person is more affected, then automatically also negative energy can affect the person. So when it comes to black magic, Black magic is more a term that is used to describe, it's more like a ritual where there is specific mantra or tools also are used and with a specific aim actually to harm a person or an individual. And usually black magic is done with a specific intention to cause harm to somebody. And there are today some people in society or negative energy from higher level also perform rituals or black magic either to gain power or to fulfill their aim. And often the people in society who do that, they're actually most of the time affected and doing under the influence of negative energy. So just to explain about negative energy, or we can say about black magic. Sometimes negative energy to satisfy also their desire can cause distress by performing, we can say some specific terms, we can say black magic, and some of you who are in India may know that word called Mut Marane, or there is also what they say a spell, but it is more at the level of black magic. It's called Karani. And it is done actually through some medium. And some people also who have evil intentions do also what we call Agori Vidya. It's a type of rituals or type of worships is to actually acquire negative power or negative energy or negative vibrations to fulfill their worldly desires and sometimes affect others. So of course that's what I'm sharing now. If some of you have different questions or something, you can always type in the chat. I will take your questions in the end in 20 minutes or so. So different questions you have from the beginning of the lectures about what we spoke, you can type. So when it's explained about curse, so curse is actually saying some word or some sentence to actually invoke some spiritual power to punish someone or to punish something. And most of the time it is something not actually we say no, somebody is doing a curse on me or somebody curse me. But actually a person, spiritual capacity may not be there to have an impact on the other person. Most of the time real curse happen more at the level of, we can say, deities, sages, or what we call also Rushimoni, because they have that capacity to curse. They will not give curse like to any common person or frequently, but if somebody has done something very wrong, we can say, at the level of society, at that time, deity, sage, can be angry and can curse the person. Saints or gurus doesn't actually give curse because by nature they are more benevolent, or we can say they are more forgiving, because they think that God take care of everything and they are there to help somebody or a devotee or a seeker to grow spiritually. An ancestor also, just to explain about ancestor cannot give curse. I will explain in short about ancestor. So when somebody after they leave their body, or we can say they die, when they go in the afterlife, depending on their spiritual capacity. So if they have spiritual capacity and they are good, then they are able to go to the positive plane of existence. But if their spiritual capacity is not there because they are not doing any type of spiritual practice, at that time they are stuck, they are not able to move ahead in the higher plane of existence. So they get stuck. And for that, what they do, they affect their descendant to ask for help. So the good ancestor, we can say, will trouble their descendant to ask for help, to get our attention. But the ancestor who have bad intention, at that time they will more want to fulfill their desire or may have revenge. But they don't have, in a way, that ability because they don't have spiritual energy to give a curse on somebody. So who and what can be also afflicted by black magic, by, we can say, evil eye or a curse. So actually it can affect anything. It can affect a person, it can affect also a tree, it can happen a house, it can happen also animals, it can also affect non-living objects. So just example, if a house is afflicted by evil eye or black magic, so the person living in the house will experience psychological problem, or we can say spiritual problem, illnesses, physical or psychological. If a vehicle, somebody can do black magic or evil eye on a vehicle, at that time the vehicle can meet with an accident, that something can happen. Or if a tree, let's say, is affected by black magic or evil eye, so same things, either the fruits become negative or even a tree or plant can die. That also can happen. So just to understand, see, when it comes to those three different, we will share after what is the difference, but most of the time the problem that we may experience may be the same. And of course we have different level, but what will differ, it may be the intensity. So let's say as a physical problem, we may experience addictions, illnesses, skin disease. It can be severe headache. It can be pain in the eyes. Person is not able to think, or it can be problem in the different type of illnesses. So that also can be at the physical level, and depending whether it is black magic or whether it is evil eye, the intensity may vary. So when it comes to mental problem, so it can be the person can be very tense or experience a lot of depressions or a lot of unnecessary thoughts or doubts. That also can be more at the psychological level. And the same thing as I shared, depending on whether it is black magic or evil eye, the intensity can be different. When it comes to educational problem, somebody may want to another person to fail. So some person may do evil eye or black magic for that person not to succeed. So that person may fail in exam despite hard work. Or the person become blank, not able to remember despite good study. For some people about financial, it can be financial problem, not able to get job, or immediately they get a job, they lose a job. Or they are not able to, or they make some work and they lose, there is financial loss. That also can happen. And when it comes to marital and family problem, some are not able to get married. Some have having marital disharmony. Some cannot have children. So there is different type of problem like abortions, death in early childhood. So that different type of problem can happen. And an important point I want to share, see what we have seen those different problems, whether they are caused by black magic, evil eye, or we can say a curse. Most of the time the different problems that I have mentioned also can be because of destiny. But if they are not because of destiny, then it can fall into that category of black magic, or we can say evil eye and curse, as well as we can say ancestral problem, as I shared before, and also negative energy. And when it comes to that comparison, just most of the problem that we may face, if it is not destiny, the more important factor will be evil eye. It will be also, we can say, ancestral problem and negative energy. Because in today's time, why evil eye is actually one of the most prominent, because people are filled with a lot of, we can say, thoughts in their mind, sexual thoughts towards others, envy, jealousy, and that affects the others. But when it comes to black magic, actually black magic, it is much less. It is not something common. And curse is even less, so it is something more rare. For a family or an individual to suffer from a curse, it is something more, we can say, rare to find. So most common will be about, we can say, evil eye, suffering from negative energy or ancestral problem. And sometimes what happen also, it can happen like a domino effect. So let's say it starts with evil eye, and it increases my negative vibrations. So what happened? I'm prone to be affected by negative energy because I'm easily, we can say protection, I don't have protections because negative energy affect me. So it is very easy for negative energy to affect me. So it may start with evil eye, but it may end with negative energy. Or similarly, I may have ancestor problem. So because I have an ancestor problem or negative energy problem, my defense, or we can say immune system, is less. So when somebody does evil eye on me or look at me with envious thoughts, I'm easily affected by that. See, if the person is not affected by negative energy at all or doesn't have, we can say, ancestor problem. So for them, they will not be or less affected by, we can say, evil eye of a person. And another point, if somebody does spiritual practice as is not affected also by negative energy, they will have positive protections. So evil eye will have either less impact or none impact on the person. So what are the different solutions? Because this is probably what is the most important. Some of what I share, some of you may know the concept or the knowledge about it. But what is actually in the hand? Because we can see now whether it is evil eye, whether it is black magic, or whether it is curse. The problems that we may face may be the same, but the intensity will be different. So just to explain about when it is black magic and it is performed, because most of the higher black magic is more performed, we can say, in India, maybe some in Indonesia or Africa. So this is in a way, but that extent unless and until the person is of higher spiritual level or know the knowledge about it, then the effect of black magic can be quite high or intense. More or less in regards to evil eye, it will depend on the person looking at the other person. Let's say envy, jealousy. So at that time, most of the time it is of less intensity, but it's something frequent we may face. So this aspect of how to remove, we can say, black magic, evil eye, or the curse. So we have different, we can say, we call drushta. It is a different type of rituals that can be done easily to remove the effect on the person. So what I will do also, we will paste now a link on the chat. And as you are looking, you can also have a look, or you can have a look later, because we have a landing page with all those rituals in detail so that you can learn and see how to perform at home. So one is there is a special about when the distress may be much severe. So at that time, it is using a coconut. It is a specific coconut that helps more to overcome the evil eye of black magic. So it should be a person, by preference, a person who is not affected themselves by negative energy. And whether they have also some spiritual capacity or doing spiritual practice. But at that time, the person should chant or repeat God's name in mind and pray for protections. And you can see after on the website, you can click on that link, the ritual with coconut. It is walking around the person few times, and after breaking the coconut. And depending on the website, it explains depending on how the coconut break, whether it breaks or there are different phenomena that can happen. It will show the intensity, whether it was black magic, more or evil eye. It is something we may not understand with gross eyes, but the phenomena, how the coconut breaks, may give them some understanding of the intensity. There is another method, it's called alum. It is something that you hold in your hands. You can be put in each hand, and similarly, you can also see on the website how you can do this ritual. It is something that needs to be performed on the other person. It needs to be waved around the other person. I will share after in detail how frequently such type of ritual can be done. And similarly also, when the intensity of that usually distress is more, we can perform also the ritual with alum. There is another ritual that is more simple. It is using rock salt, mustard seed along with chili. So there is a specific also number of chilies that you can keep in hand. It is usually 2 teaspoons of rock salt and mustard seed that is mixed, and it keeps in both hands. And depending on the level of the distress you may face, you may keep only 3 chili, that means 2 on your right hand and 1 on your left hand, or it can be sometimes 5 up to 9 chilies in a hand. And that is also wave in a circular motion in that form around the person, repeating some specific mantras or specific chant. And at that time, this is also to be put in a hot, cold, or we can say in a pan. And depending on how there is smell or no smell, we may understand also whether the person, the intensity of the evil eye or black magic, or being affected by negative energy also. We will understand more the intensity. But remember that similarly, the person who has to perform the ritual on others should either do spiritual practice, have spiritual capacity, or chant while doing it. Why? Because while doing such type of rituals, if the person on whom you are doing is affected by black magic or evil eye, or we can say negative energy, it can affect the person doing the drushta, or we can say the ritual on the person. We have another simple ritual also. It is just with rock salt and mustard seed. And it's something also more simple, because sometimes if you cannot get chilies, you can use just mustard seed and rock salt. So depending on the severity, how often to do, if let's say the distress is severe, we can say, then once a week is good to do. You can do that ritual once a week. And sometimes you can also do different rituals. It's not like you have to do only coconut. You can do coconut. And if you feel that the coconut ritual may not have worked, you can try with alum also. Then there is also, if it is moderate distress, it can be once a week, or it depends on the severity. So it can be also less. It can be once in 2 weeks or so. Sometimes the person may experience more distress during new moon and full moon time. So at that time it can be done also during new moon and full moon time. Because at that time, during new moon and full moon, the intensity or activity of negative energy is more active and much more. And many, I think, are experiencing during this time less clarity, more unnecessary thought or negative thought, tiredness. It is something also you can try to study yourself. That when you feel, when there is new moon and full moon and other day, do you experience any difference, or whether it is same? Why? Because if we start understanding that yes, during this time I'm experiencing much more difficulty, at that time what we will do much more spiritual practice. Then we will be less vulnerable and we will be more protected during this period. If the severe is actually distress, actually apologize, if the distress is mild only, mild distress, it is only once a week. And if the distress is medium, it can be sometimes 2 to 3 times a week. But if the distress is very severe, at that time the ritual can be done daily until it subsides. This is something can be done. And similarly, as I shared, as that it may be better if the distress is higher, coconut ritual will be best because it is more effective. But sometimes what can happen? No? It can happen because everyone is different, or the negative energy affecting the person may be different. So at that time, maybe alum also may be effective. And what happens is when we either we rotate the coconut or we rotate the alum or the chili along with salt water and rock salt around the person, it acts as a vacuum. It pulls out the black energy affecting the person into the coconut, into the alum. And what is interesting in regards to alum, it will take different type of shape and forms when it is burnt. When it comes to chili, sometimes it may have a very strong smell or no smell at all. And sometimes in regards to coconut, the coconut may not break or coconut may fly away. So like that, different, depending on how it happened, we understand more of the intensity of the person being affected. But see, what is again more important is those rituals will be very effective and useful also in the time to come, because now negative energy is increasing everywhere in society. Negative vibration also is increasing everywhere. People are also affected more. So automatically what happens, the tendency of evil eye will start on increasing. Black magic also may increase, but that because see, people when they start having more and more problem, they will try to result in different solutions that may be more negative. So those rituals will be very useful, but again, see, this ritual is just temporary because it may last for a few hours, it may last for some days, but it is something we do once. The best is doing spiritual practice or repeating God's name. Because when we repeat God's name, there is one principle: name, form, and energy coexist together. So when we repeat a name, we attract that energy within us, and it creates a protective shield around us. It increases our positivity and create a positive, we can say, aura or protections. And there are two names that we recommend at SSRF. One is what we play in the beginning of the live stream session. It is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It is Sanskrit. And what it means, it's about the divine principle of sustenance that is present everywhere. And why we recommend this change today is because this name has the potency to fight the negative vibration or negative energy we are more present today. And there is this other chant that we recommend. It is Shri Guru Dev Datta. It is to protect ourselves or to help to protect ourselves from ancestral problems that I shared before. So it is Shri Guru Dev Datta. Both links we will paste in the chat so you can download them on the website. You can listen to them. What you can do is that you can listen during the day in your mind, during random activity, when you are driving, when you are walking, when you are cooking. Or also, it is something you can sit down position, sometime for 15 minutes, half an hour, and chant with concentration in the mind. Or it is something also, what you can do, you can play it in low tone in the house. So just the sound also has the potency to clear the environment. So when there is a divine chant, it also will purify the atmosphere of the home and also remove if there is some negative energy in the home. And this is in a way the most easier and simple solution. Because as I shared before, when it comes to evil eye, if we don't do any type of spiritual practice, we are vulnerable to the spiritual dimension. So the moment we go outside, the negative vibration can come to us. And if somebody are envious to me, sexual assault towards me, then what happens? All those negative vibration will start accumulated around me. And then because I don't do any spiritual practice, I become weak and it is easy for negative energy to affect me. But if I do spiritual practice or I repeat God's name in mind, it automatically creates that protective shield around us. So when we will go outside, we will be much less affected by the evil eye. And we are able to remain in a more, we can say, stable state of mind. So it becomes easier. when it will come, let's say somebody does black magic on us. So at that time, more spiritual practice needs to be done. If somebody is doing intense spiritual practice or good spiritual practice, then whether spiritual master or guru will protect the devotee because their intention or aim is to grow spiritually. So dear seeker, we can take your questions now. Different questions that you have about black magic, about, we can say, evil eye and curse also, or what I share about these different aspects. So there is one question from Meenakshi. I'm getting into problem one after another and cannot get out of it. How to protect yourself from black magic and ancestral karma? So actually, Meenakshi, maybe just if what I share, that chanting is one of the best, we can say, protections, spiritual protections. And remember what I share also in the lecture is whether things happen because of destiny, and if it is not destiny, it may be these other factors such as black magic, evil eye, negative energy, or ancestor problem. And to overcome destiny, the only solution is spiritual practice only. Because when we practice spirituality, what happens is positive energy generated by our spiritual practice, we start nullifying, we can say, the give and take account about our destiny. It will start nullifying the negative destinies that we may have. And many seekers have experienced when they started spiritual practice, they experienced that their life situation started to get better. And also, but we can't say now whether it is destiny or it is ancestor problem or black magic. So that's why the best if doing spiritual practice and trying God's name, repeating God's name in mind. And if you have the ability to do those rituals, it will be helpful also. But if there is nobody who can help you, you can do another simple remedy that we will paste on the chat. It is salt water remedy. Because salt water remedy is the same thing. It has that ability to pull the black energies that affect us. There is another question from Amit Gulati. Can ritual be performed by self? No person is available. That is a good point, Amit, that sometimes no one can do the ritual on us. So that's why at that time you can do the salt water remedy, and repeating God's name is one of the best simple solution. So you can play it aloud. See that, and there is another remedy also that you can use. It is also on the website. We will paste the link. It is a box remedy because the ether has ability to pull and act as a vacuum. Because ultimately the process of drushta or ritual is what? Is to absorb, to pull out through a medium like coconut, alum, rock salt, or chili to absorb the black energy. So if there is nobody, saltwater remedy and box will help in that extent. And chanting is actually, once we chant while doing spiritual healing remedy, it increases the potency of that remedy. There is another question from Srinivas Yeni. What are the indication of being on evil eye or curse? Then again, what I share in these lectures, it is difficult to understand whether somebody is affected by, we can say, evil eye or a curse. Only somebody at a very high level spiritual can say whether somebody is affected, whether black magic, by ancestor, or we can say a curse. Most of the time, a curse may be quite severe, and at the same time, an evil eye. If something to understand maybe more at intellectual level, if you try some spiritual healing remedy that we have shared, and the symptom goes away, so the chance may be more to be evil eye. But if it is black magic, then usually it may take more time. Or if it is a curse, because sometimes a curse may be done along with a time frame. So the person may have to suffer something for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or lifetime. It depends. So like that is if you perform some different type of remedy and experience relief, and it may be more at the level of evil eye or ancestor problem. There is another question from Ernesto Joab Asbun. Can the blessing of a saint free us from evil eye, negative energy, and curse? It can happen. It can happen if somebody is doing spiritual practice and have desire for God religion or spreading spirituality. At that time, a saint may bless him. So it may be free either from that curse, or we can say maybe free from evil eye. But that is something also, see, again, a saint or spiritual master or guru will not just give blessing like that. He will just give for somebody who do something for God or who is ready to do spiritual practice. So if we do spiritual practice, automatically what happens, we get grace from God. We get protection from God, our positivity increase. So automatically no, we get free, whether it is black magic, evil eye. Just to understand also, when we grow spiritually and you are doing spiritual practice under the grace of a guru, whether somebody perform black magic, evil eye, or we can say curse, it cannot touch the person. The person, the seeker, will be protected. But that again, the seeker have to do spiritual practice and have desire for God realization or spreading spirituality. There is another question from Anusaya Savant. How to get rid of the fear caused by black energy? The same thing. When we chant God's name, our mind becomes more stable, more calm. And if there is fear, let's say, of black magic, at that time, fear that somebody will do something to me, somebody will curse me, somebody will do this to me. Actually, we can take what we say also an autosuggestions. Autosuggestion is a specific topic that help us to counteract different defects within us, like fear, worry, anger, jealousy, envy. That time is something we can say like, when I become fearful about somebody doing something like black magic on me, I will remain calm and focus on chanting. Because ultimately, again, it's the same thing. Who will protect me from black magic or negative energy? If I do spiritual practice, God will protect me. Otherwise, things will happen as per my destiny. There is another question from Vrushali Gordpade. My husband gets schizophrenia and depression last 2 years. What can I do? And he is a teacher. This is something you can see again. Mental illnesses such as schizophrenia, OCD, different mainly are from the spiritual dimension. So of course, it is important that he should be treated by doctors at psychological level. So all the mental illnesses should be checked and followed by, we can say, regular psychologist doctors. But what we recommend also is repeating Shri Gurudev Datta or Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And we have different seekers from different parts of the world. We also have on the website, I think we have a very interesting article we will paste on the chat. It is one lady from Germany. Her name is Nanette, and she has schizophrenia. She was actually in hospital for many years. And for her, she believed it was because of being affected by negative energy. And now, because she's doing spiritual practice, she's able to live a normal life. And she's able to understand that mainly the root cause is due to negative energy. She's taking treatment, but at the same time she's able to live normal life now, due to the help of spiritual practice and spiritual healing remedy. There is another question from Kedar Pednekar. I suffer from financial problem like unemployment and loss, and no business and profit and schizophrenia. So same Kedar, whether the problem, see it is caused because of destiny, or whether it is caused by ancestor problem, or it is caused because of black magic. So at that time, the same thing apply. Doing spiritual practice is a solution. Ritual you can try, but whether it will help or not. But repeating God's name in mind, because see again it is destiny, no? If it is destiny and you do just rituals, it will not do anything. It will not help. Why? Because it is destiny. But if you do spiritual practice repeating God's name, it will take care of destiny and it will take care also about whether it is black magic or ancestor problem. There is another questions. I think it is about glow by sun. So how to get rid of negative energy on us and how to tell the difference, identify is this is evil eyes or destiny. This is the same thing, maybe that question was asked before, but probably I have answered. It's the same thing. It is difficult to understand ourselves, whether the problem is caused by destiny or evil eye. So that's why that solution, as I shared before, doing spiritual practice or as well repeating God's name will take care of destiny as well as evil eye or ancestor problem. There is another question from Jesus King Forever. I had a spiritual attachment. I notice my thoughts are not my own. I listen to mantras. I say the Lord's Prayer, burn sages, and also Plato Santos. I've done the salt water with it, but it keeps coming back. See, when it, again, same thing. Sometimes we listen to mantra, or let's say we say prayers, but prayer have less capacity. Just listening to mantra sometimes may not be, if it is not specific to the problem we have, it may not help us. So just to explain, let's say if the problem is caused by ancestor problem, we may repeat different names, but it may not help. Why? Because at that time that name, Shri Gurudev Datta, has that ability or it is specific to overcome or protect against problem caused by ancestor problem. I just want to share my own experience. See, I came from France and I grew up as a Catholic, but I did not believe so much in my religion. But when I came in contact with SSRF more than 20 years ago, at that time, automatically the chant of Hail Mary started in my mind, even though I was not that attracted. And actually, I was experiencing different problems as since I was young. And they told me that actually I was having problem caused by ancestor problem. And when they told me, I did not understand. But initially, I was repeating Hail Mary in mind. But it was just calming my mind was calm only because less thoughts. But I was still smoking. But when I chanted the chant of Shri Gurudev Datta, within 3 days I've stopped smoking. Because the remedy was exact, we can say. Because it is specific for ancestor problem. So sometimes people listen to Gayatri mantra, listen to mantra, do this prayer, but problem keeps coming back. Why? Because the problem is not addressed. So whether it is ancestor problem, that we should change Shri Gurudev Datta. If it is caused by, we can say black magic, destiny, or we can say evil eye. At that time, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, because there are specific name are specific for fighting those negative vibrations. So you can try now Jesus kind forever, try to repeat that. Try to see Sri Gurudev Datta and whether you are experiencing any relief. But again, something very important, no? You will just repeat 1, 2, 3 times. It will not go. Of course, it will come back. Because it depends. For some person, at least we should give it 6 months. At least we should repeat 6 months. And you should not be like, okay, I say one time and after 1 week I don't do anything. And that again I repeat after 1 week. It should be consistent. Because to create positive vibration within self, or to erase, we can say, destiny, or to create a protective shield around us, it takes time. There's another question. What can one do to come out of a curse? Given that a curse can only be effective, we can say. So what actually we can do to come out of a curse? So if we come to know by someone means, we can say can be some astrologer, because see in India some people goes to meet astrologer or nadipati. Because in Nadi there is something specific where they can come to know about their life or what happened in their previous birth. So they may say that now you have been given a curse. In the previous birth you have done something, so in this life that's why all this problem happen. So some people you may find through astrologer. So at that time what you can do is you can beg pardon to that specific deity, or we can say who have given that curse. At that time we can ask for forgiveness, and we can what we call atonement. If let's say, because they may tell us you have done that mistake, that's why you got a curse. At that time we should do some type of atonement, something that to go against something. Some people what they do as atonement, they don't eat for some days, or they do some different type of specific spiritual practice. It is in a way a type of punishment because of some mistake done in previous birth. But that is more maybe those who are listening and we are coming from India, you may be more understanding about this concept. And mainly is to come out of a curse, as I shared before. If you come to know, the best or the solution is to do spiritual practice and to get guidance from a saint or a spiritual master, what we call guru, because then only he will be able to guide how to come of it, to come out of the curse. As I shared, see whether we are affected by negative energy because it is destiny, or whether we are affected by ancestor problem, or whether tomorrow somebody does, we can say, cunning on us, or we can say do black magic on us, or not today being affected by evil eye will be very common. The moment you step outside, the chance of evil eye may be there by just somebody looking at you. I'm saying not to be in a paranoia, stay at home and don't go outside. No, we have to live normal life, no? But just to understand, if you do spiritual practice, God will protect you. Why? Because God is in everybody. The God in you, the God in you, the God in me, the God in is everyone the same. But we are not able to experience it. Why? Because our mind, intellect is focused towards the five senses, mind and intellect. Whatever we see outside, all our intention is to fulfill our desire, our own wishes. Then at that time God will not take care or protect us, or at the same time we can't experience God's presence. But if we do spiritual practice and we increase desire within us to grow spiritually, automatically God will give us the experience of His presence. And then He will also protect us. So that's why whether we are affected by any of those means, to understand that if we do spiritual practice, we'll be able to be protected. Not only we will be protected, but we will be able to make spiritual progress. And when we make spiritual progress, we are able to experience what we say spiritual emotion or bliss. And that is 1,000 times more superior than just the happiness we can get from from a stimulus. It can be friends, the one we like, something we eat, something we read. That is just temporary happiness. It will last short only. But bliss or spiritual emotion can be everlasting. There is another question from Penshi Yadav. Do spirit can harm or affect us by controlling one's mind? Yes, it is correct. Negative energy, if they can very easily affect our mind. That's why we recommend to work on ourselves, to try to work on overcoming defect within us, such as anger, um, instability, such as we can say emotionalism. Because the moment we have instability due to emotionalism, fear, worry, it is very easily for negative energy to take control of the mind of the person. That's why working on overcoming defect within self. So at SSRF, as I shared before, one of the objectives is to guide a seeker in their spiritual journey. So in SSRF, we offer a platform of different satsang online. And this satsang online is a group of seekers joining together. It is free of charge. So seekers meet on FCC or Skype. It is in English and different time zone, where we help a seeker in their obstacle in their spiritual journey, especially in this aspect of how to overcome defect of personality and how to achieve a stability or a stable mind. And at that time, when a seeker make progress and mind becomes stable, it is difficult for negative energy to affect a person or to take control over of the mind of the person. There is another, I will continue even though we are crossing time because there are many good questions. I will continue for some time. So there is a question from Raju. I have been using salt water and spiritual healing remedy and it has given best result and I advise many about this. My question, is there a permanent remedy? Yes, there is a permanent remedy and the remedy again is spiritual practice. That will be the permanent remedy. Because if we do spiritual practice every day, it's like we eat every day, no? So if we do spiritual practice every day, we get spiritually nourished, we get protections, it increases our positivity and it helps us. More we grow spiritually, more we get protected from the subtle dimension. There is another question from VP. Is yawning during prayer a sign of evil energy leaving? Yes, in one hand, it is correct. When somebody sometimes does chanting God's name or salt water remedy, what can happen? The person start yawning. So what happens at that time? The black energy that is stored in our body or around us comes out. So it can come in a form of yawning. It can come in a form of excessive yawning. It can come in a form of sweating also. Another question also from VP. Also, what can be done to protect relationship with your significant others from evil eyes, curse, and black magic? See, it is something you can't do that you want to protect somebody else. Something we can do with intellect. Let's say we know some places are bad. So we will avoid that person. We will not tell that person, don't go there at night. At night, the chance for, we can say, evil eye can happen, no? Because at night, negative energy is more active and there are places and sometimes people are affected. Go there, bar, disco, pub. So at that time, the chance may be more. So at that time, by intellectual level, we can tell them, don't go at night outside, or don't go to such negative places, because the chance of being affected by black magic, or we can say evil eyes, will be much more. The only thing we can tell them is to tell them to do spiritual practice, to tell them to chant, because they will build their own immune system. No? If they build their own immune system, they will be protected everywhere they go. There is another question from Krishna Teja. How to do house warning ceremony against negative energy? Mean what you mean by house warning ceremony, if whether it is to purify the home, so that negative, if there is negative energy in the house, it goes away or it goes out. It's like purifying the house. We had one live stream session, I think 2 months ago, how to purify your home. So we can paste also the link. You can look at that video. There are different techniques that we can use to purify the home. Different type of ways how we can clean and whether to purify to increase the positivity in the home, or if it's a possibility for negative energy to go away, and especially to understand the science behind, we can say Vastu Shastra is a science of the home, that actually 50% importance is the person living in the house, whether they have a positive mind or whether they are doing spiritual practice, because they are the main influencer of the vibration in the home. So I encourage you to look at that video. Actually, there is another question also from Krishna Teja. How yantras help people against evil eyes, black magic, negative energy? What kind of yantra should people use, and where one can get yantras? See again, yantra to explain is a form. It's a different type of form or shapes. That is, some are sometimes circular, of different forms, because it has some positive protections. So only some people, it is not something we find easily. Sometimes some people have that knowledge and understanding about yantras. But again, it is a symbol, and that will have limitation. It will have limitation over time and space. See, whatever we are using, like we have explained about rituals, no? Drushta, things we do. So depending where you are on the place, how you perform it, it will, how much it will be beneficial. Plus also, how long it will last. It will last for some time. Same, say, saltwater remedy. Saltwater remedy, you do it once, but it will last some hours. So same thing, whatever we use external, whether it is some items, whether it is yantra, whether it is ritual, it will last for some time. But yantra also is the same thing. It will last for some time, depending on the who have made the yantra. Whether it is a spiritually evolved person, and it will last for longer time. If it is a simple yantra, it will last few minutes. That is one aspect. If the negative energy affecting the person is very, very high, higher negative energy, then yantra will not do anything. It will not be strong enough. So that's why yantra is okay to some extent. But chanting is something that, see, chanting God's name, no? Like Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya or Datta, Shri Gurudev Datta. It is God's energy. Even though we repeat, no? But it is God's energy we are going to fight. Ultimately, who can fight negative energy? It's not human being. It is not yantras. It is deities, or we can say in the positive plane of existence, that positive energy will fight the negative energy. So for us, repeating those names, this is what will really fight the negative energy. There is another question from Athena Bubo. What if evil energy are keeping one from doing spiritual practice, even if one want to do? Yes, that can happen. We have different seekers also who have desire to do spiritual practice. So what happens? Negative energy, or we can say ancestors, will prevent the person. Why? Because if the person is simple, no. If the person does spiritual practice, they gain positivity, and that will go against them because they are negative, no. So it is light against darkness. So the negative energy will try to prevent somebody to do any type of spiritual practice. And alone, it is very difficult for the person who sometimes is affected by negative energy, as you say, to do it alone. So that's why by being in contact with some seeker, either attending satsang or speaking to a seeker, getting encouragement, then it helps that seeker to come out. And that seeker will be able to come out of the clutch of the negative energy. That's why we should not try to fight alone, because negative energy will try to prevent the person. So what you can do, if is you or somebody else, you can reach out to some seekers. We can reach you. We have live chat, we have login facility, and we have free satsang. So, and this is our spiritual practice to help a seeker like you to come out of that clutch and make spiritual progress. There is another question from Shrikari. My head gets heavy and I see a negative energy in the home. So at that time, Shrikari, what you can do, you should play the divine chant aloud. So what you can do, you can keep that chant, you can download on the website and play it aloud in the house. The moment you see negative space, you should start chanting in mind immediately. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You can pray for protection, but again, you should chant. If you just say, I will just pray for protection but do nothing, it will not work. I should pray for protection and chant. There is another question from Jyoti Manokar. I met an astrologer and she said nothing is from past births now. Then why dream of someone staring at me occurring? And this Jyoti, no, as I shared before, either something happened because of destiny. And if it is not destiny, it can be some other factor. It can be evil eye. It can be ancestral problem. It can be also negative energy problem. Which is something. So maybe from your astrologer it says there is nothing to do from previous birth. But maybe in this birth there may be ancestral problem or evil eye. So that time repeating God's name will create that protection around you. Okay, dear seeker, I think we have covered most of the questions. And the other question what you can do, we'll put a survey. We have a survey, then you can share. If you have more questions, we can answer more questions. You can also suggest if you have different type of topics that you would like for us to take. So for our next event that will be online, we have tomorrow and also in 3 days, in 2 days, we will have collective chanting meditation. It is something you can join. It is on live stream. It is free. It is like collective chanting meditation. And at the same time, on Sunday, we have a workshop. It is through donation, and this workshop is of 3 hours duration. And this workshop, we go more at practical level, and we see about, it will be from emotionalism to stability, and practically how to work on it. And there will be also some research about spiritual art. It's very interesting, so that all of you can register on the website. But dear seeker, I encourage you to read on the website, and I think we have paste also. We'll paste again for you this link or the landing page about this, we can say, evil eye, black magic, because you have a multitude of different type of articles about this topic, about negative energy, and the different spiritual healing remedy and rituals that we propose. So dear seeker, I hope you learn something and you try to put into practice and to persevere. See, whether we are experiencing difficulty, whether it is destiny or any problem, there is, by spiritual practice only, everything is possible to overcome. But that perseverance and consistency is important. So dear seeker, wishing you all the best and good evening and hope to meet you again. Namaskar.